the French government took outright kidnapping. About 5,000 poor people disappeared on the routes of Paris in the 1980s, so they picked up their objects and they sent New Orleans. Now these were not slaves. They could do anything they wanted once they got here. The mission required typically years. And this didn't succeed in putting the colony with colonists, but not surprisingly, it did not put the colonists with the laws of the duty, face racism, and particularly strong work ethic. The reputation of New Orleans, a somewhat wild and rather hedonistic city, began early fall. Which is perhaps why the next group of people came. In 1727, the Ursuline nuns came to New Orleans to go to convent. They bring a much-needed dose of education, moderation, and religion to the city. They built what is now the oldest standing structure in the city of New Orleans. The Ursuline convent in the French Quarter is still there. It is quite lovely, and if you are so inclined, you may welcome and take a look at it. Now, museum. The second oldest building in the city is a bar. There is something about our culture in New Orleans that the oldest building is a Catholic convent, while the second oldest is a bar that was once owned by a pirate. But it definitely says something more about our culture in New Orleans, and perhaps our culture here in America, because there is no truth to that statement whatsoever. It does make a great story, and I do understand that. That story gets repeated everywhere. It is a wonderful marketing tool, of that I have no doubt. But there are several distinct factual problems with calling Lafitte's blacksmith shop the second oldest building in the city. Number one, it is absolutely definitely not the second oldest building in the city. Number two, the bar was first opened in the 1970s. Three, the building was never owned by Lafitte and has no verifiable connection to him whatsoever. And four, judging from a lack of iron in the ground itself, the level surface was never at any point much higher temperature than water. So there were many men, women, and children who were scalded, disfigured, or killed by the melted sugarcane sap. It was extremely dangerous to make, but it was very, very profitable. By 1750, sugar was the most widely traded and valuable commodity in all of Europe. And that simple fact would shape and define the next 60 years of New Orleans history. One way or another, it always came back to the sugar. We'll finish that in a second. High boats out the port side of the boat, passing a large Navy ship. There usually is a twin ship moored right next to it, hence the large light rubber bumpers. The twin is actually another one in the world. Doing something extremely specific. Together, the two ships are part of the United States Navy's Rapid Response Force. That's basically a giant building garage with a visual state of reference. loaded up and on its way very quickly and didn't want to go. That's a roll on, roll off. That is how the ramp is around that shaper's going, you could actually drive tanks across it. And all the way over the United States Navy. Taxes and tariffs on sugar really covers the kings. And the King of France is very jealous of protecting those sugar taxes and sugar tariffs and his sugar profits. The King of France had a very serious problem. By the 1760s, he's losing a war on the British. The Americans call this the French and Indian War. The British call it 7 years war. It's the same war. The King of France knows he will be defeated at the front, so he will be forced to go forward to French lands. Louisiana had their own resulting sugar taxes, tariffs, and profits. The King of France gives them away. He surrenders to the Spanish in 1760. Spain takes control of Louisiana and New Orleans. Shortly after this transfer is complete, the French surrender to the British. The British take what's left. And what's left is Canada. And then it's like the French colony in Canada became part of the British Empire, now British Commonwealth, but they don't get Louisiana, but they don't get New Orleans. So the world becomes a Spanish city in 1763. No one tells the world. For 2 years, we were Spanish and we didn't know it. No 2 years for that. When the Spanish government did finally show up, the Orleans reacted rather apathetically. We refused to invite the Spanish governor to the parties. Their letters to the King of France telling him how much we loved him and how much we missed him. And begging him to please take us back. It did not work. That's something that it does. There was a very minor attempt at a rebellion in 1768, where a few men knocked on the door of the Spanish governor's house and asked him to leave. And he did. When he went to Cuba, he came back with a few more soldiers and shot the 2 men who did not knock on the door, and that was the end of their rebellion. Rather half-hearted. New Orleans was actually a Spanish city for 40 years. His name was exactly the same time it was French. But the culture of New Orleans remained almost completely French. Spanish culture actually very little lasting impact on New Orleans culture. Out of language, cuisine, customs, costumes, or holiday. The reason for this is because of women. That's right, women. The Spanish government did not allow Spanish women to go to New Orleans at all. None. There were no single Spanish women. There were no married Spanish women. There were no Spanish families, which meant there were no Spanish daughters growing up in the city. There were only some young single Spanish families. When those Spanish men got to New Orleans, they learned how to speak French very quickly, so they could do their job, and they could speak to the locals, or speak to the local French women. When they got married, they married the local French women. They cooked French food, spoke French to their children. They celebrated holidays in a French fashion here in the city of New Orleans. For this reason, even through 40 years of Spanish ruled culture, remained almost completely French. Except in one very specific area, and that was park protection. The French Quarter is called the French Quarter because the French people founded it. The French people lived there. They lived on the streets. They gave them French names. But the buildings in the French Quarter are not French. The buildings are Spanish. This is primarily because the French had insisted on building their buildings out of wood. Sometimes literally just driftwood. This had a tendency to burn down the large parts of the city with it. But the one particularly bad time, the Spanish government of New Orleans said, no box. If you're going to go to the French Quarter, you're going to have to use non-flammable material. The Spanish government of New Orleans essentially imported building covers, building styles, building design, building materials, and the builders themselves directly from the state inspector. Over the course of the next 4 decades, they rebuilt the French Quarter into what it is today. The closed-out roof, the stucco walls, all that beautiful wrought iron ornamentation, is all elements of Spanish architecture, not French. So things continue on this way to Orleans for several decades until the Louis Corsican rises to power. Napoleon Bonaparte seizes control of France. Bonaparte wanted Louisiana and New Orleans back. The So he goes to the King of Spain and he says, give it back. And they do. Officially they traded a for a small piece of Italy, in reality it wasn't shaking out. Napoleon had Louisiana and New Orleans unofficially for 3 years, officially for 3 weeks, before he turns around and he sells it to the Americans. And it's for $15 million. $15 million works out to 3 cents an acre. It is in fact the largest land deal in all of human history. Napoleon takes the money, he outfits more than one army, and then he attacks everyone. The French, the British, and their allies begin fighting all over the planet. Now, there's that a moment. Our folks off the port side of the boat, we're passing a series of very beautiful buildings. That is not a hotel, that is not a resort, that is a military base. It is the Jackson Barracks headquarters of the Louisiana National Guard. That's my mind, my eye. I think that's about one of the more beautiful military bases that we have. Perhaps the second most beautiful for the West Coast. That's just my admittedly very heavily biased opinion. So the French, the British, and their allies begin fighting all over the planet. America stays out of the fight. And while we're taking control, no one is paying attention to us. America started building ships. Lots and lots of ships. In the first decade of the 19th century, America expanded the U.S. Navy, U.S. merchant fleets, and U.S. whaling fleets so quickly. We built so many ships in such a short period of time that America, as a country, literally started running out of sailors. We had so many new ships, we did not have the manpower all over the coast. Which was actually a real problem. We fixed this problem. America turns the best sailors in the world, the British. British sailors were offered higher wages, better living conditions, more lenient punishment schedule, more rum. American citizenship, and of course the extra added ancillary side benefits, not being afforded. Many British sailors take this offer and jump ship. American citizens, American sailors. The British were aware that this was happening, did make them very angry. They needed these sailors to fight Napoleon, so they started taking them back by force. British ships started stopping American ships on the high seas, boarding them and forcing sailors off at gunpoint. So I'm going to out part of His Majesty's Royal Navy get to work. And that was the biggest single issue that led to war. The other issue that led to war was Canada. Now, if you are an American writing this book, you may want to pay attention to this last part of the story. Because this story is taught in every single Canadian school. It's not taught in American schools. It absolutely did happen. The United States declared war on the British in 1812. And the very first thing that we did, the only thing that we did, was invade Canada. And we were defeated in almost every single battle. That'll finish that episode. All right, folks, off the port side of the book. We're passing the dominant trigger finger. Believe it or not, that is, not was, is, the largest sugar refinery in the world. Millions of years of which is not it absolutely is not. Yes, I really do mean that. Yes, but yes, still, yes, even those buildings. No, I'm not kidding. Oh, that's not a joke. Yes, I am serious. We'll answer your next question. Ladies and gentlemen. So just to wrap this up, the U.S. invaded Canada in 1812. We were defeated in almost every single battle. The only bit of success we had was we were able to occupy a city for approximately 20 years. The Canadians were out to force us out. Out of the city, we burnt it. So now we're being considered war crime. We did. And the British might have done for that. In 1814, they finally dealt with Napoleon. They put him on an island where he would never fight anybody ever again. Or so they thought they would. The British then sent a massive fleet across the Atlantic. The very first thing they do when they get here is invade Washington, D.C. and front to the crowd. This was revenge. The Americans put New York and several other Canadian cities. New York is still there, by the way, but not all. Toronto. After the British burned D.C., they went over to Baltimore and they tried to do the same thing there, but we stopped them before they could. By the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in the air, they flew through the night, our flag was still there. Francis Cathedral at this point had been detained by British ships watching an attack Fort McHenry trying to get to Baltimore, 18 forward. and they failed to head south towards New Orleans, 10,000 troops and 40 ships. To defend New Orleans, Andrew Jackson had 1,000 American soldiers. Outnumbered 10 to 1, with not enough men and not enough muskets to defend the city. How Andrew Jackson manages to do this? Who helped him and what happened? His wife killed him. King of Leon, one side of the river, approaching the shore of battle. God has allowed New Orleans this walk to more than 10 years ago. No one's ever going to this far. You don't have to go if you don't want to. No way the open Michigan Lake along Mississippi County after 2 years of life. There will be a hard way to get out there for inscription about New Orleans. That's how they will talk for most of the time you're down there. You don't want to listen. You don't have to. It's a there are flags to read, trees to look at, Kenneth Law, all that sort of thing. There's also a museum. The museum is free. It is video complex. A few things to look at. There's really to the book. You will hear a song called The Battle of New Orleans. First in 1959, the song is actually about the Battle of New Orleans. And if you've never heard this song before, well, this should be your first time. And one last final thought. The captain is going to go on the night and get some instructions on how to get off the boat, where to get off the boat, much, much more important, folks, when to get back on the boat. So if you do not get left here on the boat, it has happened before. It will happen again. It is inevitable. If it happens today, I assure you that good weather or not, cheerfully and shamelessly wave at you as the boat goes by. Don't let that happen to you. Get back to it all the time. And thank you all very much for listening.
Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Shaman Battlefield. There are a few things we'd like to point out about our visit today. We've asked you please keep your activities restricted to the left-hand side of the park. From this perspective facing the park, there is a very inviting road which leads off to the right. This road leads to the Shaman National Cemetery. The cemetery, however, is not part of this tour. We do not have enough time to walk to the cemetery and make it back to the boat before the boat leaves the dock. So once again, we ask that you please keep your activities restricted to the left-hand side of the park from this perspective facing the park. What we have to say next is very, very important. We ask you please pay close attention.